first and foremost, thank you so much for coming on the platform. This is really an honor for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. All the way around the world, huh? We're able to connect like this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know you got a lot of moves to make, so I ain't gonna hold you up. We're gonna get right into the show. For the
Okay.
viewers that may not recognize you or know who you are, let them know what your name is and definitely where you from.
Well, my name's Preston Glass. I'm from America, United States, in particular from originally from New Orleans, but I reside in Los Angeles, California. And
Wow, that's cool. That's real cool. Big shout out to New Orleans. I mean, in terms of like American music, black music, that's where it all started. You know, you got Congo Square, you got the blues, you got jazz, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So a
it,
lot of
you know,
innovative and creative people.
yeah, yeah. That
Yes,
that
man.
definitely was the hub for jazz and some soul as well.
Yeah, yes indeed. I mean, but even in hip hop, I mean, we look at hip hop like, you know, it did originate in New York, but a lot of those elements came from the deep south. And then you have some of the greatest rappers in the world, Lil Wayne, he's from New Orleans, you know, Cash Money Records, they New Orleans, so they still, you know.
Yeah, they have their own sound too, so that comes with the vibe. Something must be in the water down there. Huh?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Now I gotta ask you this. Now, how did you even get into music? Like, was it something that people in your family did, or was it something you seen out in the community, or you know, what made you want to get into it?
Well, I come from back in the day. I'm a old school, so back in the '60s. I was born in 1960, so back then it was just basically loving music that I heard on the radio. Which today is playlists and all that kind of stuff. But and then listening to music that I loved, I started playing guitar and piano, and really started admiring not just the artists, but the songwriters and the arrangers and producers of those records, and where that sound came from. I wanted to learn how to get more acclimated with that, and I did at a very very early age. I started
No,
writing music
okay.
when I was like 6 years old, and
Wow.
of course, me in particular, I was what's known as an army brat. So I lived. My dad was in the army, and we relocated as a family a lot of different places fast. So I learned how to get used to new areas quick, new cultures, but that also meant new radio stations, because wherever that's the kind of music I would hear, whether it be soul music, whether it be pop music, whether it be rock music, country music, hip hop, whatever it was. But when I was growing up, there was really no such thing as hip hop. Like James Brown was the hip hop of the day.
Oh yeah, yes indeed. I mean, that's a blessing though, because you know, a lot of times, well, at least back in the earlier days, you know, music was more regional. So if you lived in a certain area, like you say, New Orleans, they had a certain sound, or DC, they got go go. You know, so sometimes if you live in a certain area, you wouldn't even get an opportunity to even experience a lot of different, you know, styles of music.
Exactly. Yeah. So in my case, it really helped that we moved around enough to where I got acclimated to all kind of music, all different kind of music. And a lot of people say when they hear my style of writing, they're like, "Man, you got all kind of different little stuff in there," and that probably comes from listening to that when I grew up.
Yeah, yeah, that's very important because you worked with some iconic artists, a lot of them, and some people would name these people. If you ask them, you say, "Who is your favorite artist in the world on earth?" And you got a chance to work with so many of them. And I think it's important to note that a lot of times, you know, the consumer just hears the song, but we don't realize, you know, it's a producer, it's a writer, it's a studio engineer. You know, it's a lot of people and parts that go into some of our, you know, favorite records, you know.
You're so right. Yeah, a lot, and I learned that early on, not just by observing and asking a lot of questions, But when I finally became a music professional, I was a teenager, and so I got to see it firsthand. Okay, it's not just the singer, but the producer, the producer's team, the arrangers, the songwriters, the musicians, the studio, the engineer, business people. So all that matters.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, I can ask you, when do you feel like you got your first big break? Since you started so young, you know.
Yeah. Well, as far as professional, I got my break at age 19. I was started. Well, I was actually signed as a staff songwriter with Mighty Three Music. No, Mighty Three Music. The three in that company is Gamble, Huff, and Bell. So a lot of people have heard of Gamble and Huff, Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. I worked with the third guy firsthand, Tom Bell, who Thom Bell. A lot of people probably seen his name on the records, but he was the first producer at the Grammys to ever win a in the category of Producer of the Year.
Wow.
Back in 1974, I believe, was the first year they had that category. They didn't have a category for that, and he was the first guy that had won. And it was basically for his work with a lot of the Philly sound stuff with the Spinners, the Stylistics, the Delphonics, and he was one of those producers that had a definite sound when he worked with an artist. He brought that sound to the table.
Oh wow. Now I
So
was gonna say,
he recognized. Sorry, I'm sorry. I was just
um,
gonna say. So a lot of people might be wondering, well, how did you get with him? Well, I at an early age started noticing his name on the records. I was like, who is that? Tom? Oh, I thought it was Thom, Thom.
mm,
Bill. So I started inquiring. I said, oh wow, I see his name on a lot of the records that I like. So I started pursuing, finding out where he is and I started sending him music, and finally he responded and said, well, when you finish high school, look me up, and I'm actually going to be out toward your way when I relocate. So I did that, and he was impressed by my persistence. Sure, I was, I guess, an okay writer, but I think he was more impressed with my uh, pursuing him and my professionalism, which I can't say that enough. A lot of times, people can have the talent, but they can have the rest of it in disarray. Like they could be, you know, unorganized, or they could be not working well with people. You got to learn how to work good with people, communication, and some people could just be not easy to work with. But I think Tom saw that I was a pretty agreeable person, pretty cool to work with, so he signed me, and that was the beginning of everything, really.